Welcome back, race fans. It's Race Chat Live. You got us here tonight on Fan for Racing, fanforracing.com, Fan for Racing YouTube channel, and also I do believe we are being shared out to our Facebook pages. That's going to be Fan for Racing Facebook page, also the 110 Nation Facebook page, and the Race Chat Live. If we haven't got it there yet, we will be in just a minute. Of course, sitting with me are my co-host, the Tasmanian Devil of Racing flagging is Taz Taylor, and of course, Mr. CJ Sports along with us. But before we get there, of course, I've got to dive right in. And you know, each time that we come on board, I bring an opening monologue, and this week is going to be no different. Let's talk about Michael Jordan because he seems to be the big picture right now. Michael Jordan is the superstar right now in NASCAR, and that NASCAR has been looking for because he checks every box the sport has been missing: global star power, cultural relevance, and real competitive credibility. He gives NASCAR the global star power. Jordan is one of the few sports figures whose names instantly means something on every continent. With fans see him in victory lane with Tyler Reddick after the Daytona 500 in Atlanta, NASCAR suddenly looks like a big league to casual sports fans. His presence draws in a newer, younger, more diverse eyeballs who might not know a thing about aero push or a tire fall off, but will tune in because MJ has a team now. He bridges racing and pop culture. 2311 has deliberately positioned itself at the intersection of motorsports, sneakers, music, mainstream brands, McDonald's, DoorDash, Dr. Pepper, Jordan Brand, Monster, etc. So the team feels more like an NBA franchise in race cars than an old school shop in a metal building. That strategy has already produced younger, more diverse social media followings than the average NASCAR teams, which is exactly the demographic NASCAR has been chasing for over a decade. He changes who feels invited to NASCAR. Co-owning a team with Bubba Wallace as the centerpiece put a black driver and a black owner together in a sport that's historically been very white. At the same time, Bubba was pushing for change like the Confederate flag ban. That combination sends a powerful signal that NASCAR is serious about broadening who belongs in the stands, on pit road, and behind the wheel instead of just talking about diversity from a distance. He's winning, not just posing. This isn't a variety project. Bubba Wallace gave 2311 its first Cup win at Talladega in 2021, becoming the first Black Cup winner since Wendell Scott, and now Tyler Reddick has delivered back-to-back wins in 2026, including the Daytona 500. Winning early and often turns Jordan from celebrity owner into a serious player whose teams can go toe-to-toe with Hendrick, Gibbs, Penske, which boosts the entire series and competitive image. And guys, I know that we all have been searching for a superstar in NASCAR, and we've all thought that it would be a driver. Of course, you know, we've had superstars in NASCAR before with the likes of Dale Earnhardt, Richard Petty, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson. But over the last few years, we've steadily been searching for a face to this NASCAR series that we've all grown up and loved for so very long. Michael Jordan has stepped in, and I don't just think that this is coming off the cuffs of the lawsuit. I really just think that this was the original. I myself was always excited about Michael Jordan coming into the sport. I could only dream that Michael Jordan was going to have a very successful race team. Up until the Daytona 500, this has felt like Denny Hamlin's race team. Can I get any agreements here? It's really just felt like it's been Denny Hamlin. Now I feel the presence of the GOAT. I feel the presence of a superstar. I feel the presence of an owner who not only cares about his organization, but winning, and winning at the highest level. That, my friends, means that we have found the superstar that we were looking for. Now, no doubt, race fans, non-conventional, right? And I think that Dale Jr. kind of could capitalize in this situation as well as a car owner in the Cup Series. But Michael Jordan is here now, and it's who we have to feed off of. And it is so amazing to be able to turn on ESPN or Fox News or Fox Sports in the morning time and hear NASCAR being discussed once again on these platforms that help spread sports news. Now, with all due respect, I'm going to bring in my co-host, Taz Taylor and Mr. CJ Sports, as we get ready to go green flag racing for this our next segment. But I do want to have you guys respond to my opening monologue.
Point the wrong way there, Taz. We're both staring each other down. Who's gonna speak? Um, yes, it's great for the sport. I think the moment for me when it comes to this whole Michael Jordan thing was when I watched him walk across the infield grass, and I believe it was a brown jumpsuit, and walked out there to meet Tyler Reddick at the start finish line while they were celebrating, and seeing him be part of that. I know we got other owners, not all owners, but that was kind of the moment that kind of hit me that Michael Jordan is really a part of this, and the fans are really embracing this whole movement this year with him. I think the fans enjoyed what they saw because of the lawsuits and kind of getting NASCAR in check, and then he comes and he wins back-to-back races, and you see him interact with Tyler Reddick and his kids, and people try to make something of nothing, and then he's out there again now at the start finish line celebrating and picking up a guy that looks like he's only waist high to him, that was entertaining as well to kind of see the size difference from Tyler Reddick to Michael Jordan out there. But that was kind of my moment, was watching him walk across that infield grass, him be out there and celebrate with the team, and just what it's meaning to Michael Jordan himself. You never thought the GOAT of the NBA and a man that's put Nike on the map and still to this day has Nike on the map, it mean that much to somebody that has conquered pretty much everything, and see how much it means to him. That was kind of the moment for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very interactive as an owner. I mean, yeah, you see your Hendrick, Jeff Gordon, you got your Penske, some of your other owners, of course, but there's something about Michael Jordan that makes him different in terms of everybody else. I think it's how he interacts. Showing that he's into this sport as if he's, I guess, like a driver or a pit crew member. Maybe if I'm steering this in the right direction, like he's being a player. Like, I know he's more of a team owner, but he's feeling like he's a player. He's got something in this, I he's celebrating just as much as as a pit crew member or the driver winning. He's happy about how he's happy about doing this. And the one thing I wish somebody would make the hint on that nobody has done before is mention Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan have been together owning a race team before they joined the Cup Series. They were a team in iRacing. I love how NASCAR broadcasts mentioned like William Byron or Ty Majeski, for example. Like, they started their careers through iRacing and whatnot, but they have too. And yes, the name was called Denny Hamlin Racing. However, the sponsorship backing came from Jordan himself. So these two have been together for a few years before joining the Cup Series. And I think that needs to be something brought up with everybody through our show, I think. And I think the broadcasts need to really hit the mark on that.
Now, like we mentioned before, or Chris mentioned before, it felt more like Denny Hamlin's team. We didn't see a lot of interaction previously with Michael Jordan. Now we're seeing this major interaction, and it's easy when you're coming off 2 wins. I would like to see where Michael Jordan goes, or his interaction more so, when this team goes through the slump that we know eventually is going to have that slump. Every team has it. Is he going to be the Michael Jordan we've seen the last couple of weeks? I understand it's not going to be all smiles and streamers because you're not winning, but will we see the same interaction? Will we see the same passion, or will we see more of the Michael Jordan we've seen prior once they hit that slump that every team eventually hits? You can't win them all.
Yeah, that's a good question there, Mr. CJ Sports, and I guess only time will tell. I think he's been a pretty active owner up until now. I think it's, he could have come into the sport and been the all-seeing eye and, really the mega figure of 23XI from the beginning. But I think Jordan took more of a slowed down approach. Remember, he did just jump into ownership, right? Like, it wasn't like, what brought him back from NBA retirement was an ownership situation with the Wizards. So he owned part of the Wizards before he even moved over to the Charlotte Hornets. And I think that when he took over ownership of the Hornets, like they thought automatically, the face of Jordan's the GOAT. He's going to bring championships to this city. And, there's not a doubt that he's not going to be able to. And he became kind of the face of the franchise. And when it failed, he was kind of, made mockery. They made mockery of Michael Jordan then. He had the most unsuccessful franchise in NBA history at that time. They were horrible. They stunk. They said that Jordan couldn't pick out talent. So I feel like what Michael Jordan's done over the last 3 or 4 years, building this organization, really 5 years, is he's kept back a little bit and allowed the organization to grow. He gave all the right resources for them to grow their program. We started out with guys like Booty Baker, and no offense against Booty, he was a great crew chief, but he was not an up-to-date crew chief. And now, we've gotten better crew chiefs. We've got better engineers at 23XI. We've now got our own pit crews at 23XI. All these things were just each individual step that he made to make this team compete, being able to compete with the Hendricks, the Penske's, and the JGRs of the world. So I'm not too mad at him about taking a slow approach up until now. It is interesting to see if maybe, they fall off and go into a slump, as a team itself. And Jordan all of a sudden kind of falls back to the shadows. And I wouldn't blame him if that happens as well, because like I said, with an iconic figure such as Jordan, you can really overpower the room. And I think it's okay for him to be in the room right now, because there's so much momentum and there's so many good things happening at 23XI. He should be able to celebrate with his team. And look, the pat on the butts to Bubba Wallace and the celebration in Victory Lane at Daytona, all of those things is the sport mentality, right? That's the jock mentality. That's the GOAT we're looking for, right? And he's just processed that over into a NASCAR Cup team. It takes sponsorship. It takes great pit crews. It takes great crew chiefs and engineers to make these teams happen. And I think that for the most part right now, Jordan has proved that he has all of those people in the right place. Now, the question comes in of whether or not Denny Hamlin, who's kind of felt like the main owner of this race team over the last several years, if he doesn't feel kind of jaded or pushed aside as Michael Jordan continues to eat up all of the good press that's happening with them winning these races. But may I add that it seems to be that up until this point, Jordan was just what is it called? The little @ symbol for being an owner of this team. Now it feels like it's Jordan's team now, and maybe that does take away a little bit from all the hard work that Denny Hamlin has put in. But Denny Hamlin's name can only take that race team so far. We've seen it with Tony Stewart, and look, sponsorship is where it's at. Denny has a tough time selling sponsorships on his own, right? I mean, it's not like they've been knocking down the door. And I may say that with one out of the side of my mouth, because he has landed some sponsorships. He did have FedEx pull back from him. But Jordan, on the other hand, Jordan is a global brand and probably has a lot more outlets and can bring to the table a lot more than Denny Hamlin can on the sponsorship side. But it is their team. It's their team together. It's called 23XI. It's the Denny Hamlin and Michael Jordan Racing Cup team. And I'm just glad to see that now NASCAR can embrace the superstar that come into our sport several years ago and has just kind of been a quiet ownership. Look, guys, it's not the first time that we've had celebrity ownerships. You've had Dan Marino, you've had Terry Bradshaw, you've had country music stars, TJ Shepard and Marty Robbins. They've all owned race teams. Diamond Rio even owned a race team at one point in time. Who even remembers them, right? Unless you like country music. But
Brad Daugherty.
But yeah, Brad Daugherty, right? Look, it's not
Yeah.
it's not the stat of the day or whatever, but these two drivers have both secured them a Daytona 500 victory.
You also got Pitbull, who used to be with Trackhouse.
Right. So celebrity ownerships in NASCAR is nothing new, but it's definitely exciting when you have a global brand and a literal superstar that's at the head of the helm here at 2311. Any other thoughts, Taz? I'll send it to you.
I don't think so. I mean, we know. I think we're gonna. I am gonna bring up the question again that CJ brought up. How is Jordan going to?
Do we lose Taz?
I think he froze again.
He did. Look at that face that he was making.
At first, I thought he was sitting there thinking about what he was going to say, and then I realized
that was my head too. Get the thought out, Taz. Come on, Mr. CJ Sports, go ahead.
I didn't have nothing else on it. I got my question in, so I think he was going to piggyback back on the they go on a slump. How his interaction going to be? But like I said, just seeing the interaction, just seeing him given what's the young cat's name that pushed Tyler Reddick, Hurst, giving him credit last week, and Jordan speaking your name, talking about nothing else. We saw you. Basically, I saw you. Good assist for the win for Daytona and good finish. He's doing everything right. He's doing the right. He's saying the right things. He's making the right moves, and there's definitely this energy. And I'm curious to see, as we're starting to see some of the numbers from Daytona, we're seeing numbers from Atlanta, how this will help maybe grow the sport, and we see NASCAR run with this momentum, because when more and more of the youth or our age people hear more of the fact that Michael Jordan is in racing, how many more eyes? Oh, Jordan's got a team. I didn't know Jordan had a NASCAR team. Let me check out this team. They've won 2 races. You're gonna start to get that word of mouth traffic come in just because of Jordan, and the publicity is going on with this right now. So I like to see how the numbers continue to go this year. I think I heard Kenny Wallace say Daytona is the best we've had in 2 or 3 years. So the numbers are going, the numbers are continuously going up. We're not back in the good old days, but we're going in the right direction. So I'm curious to see if all this Jordan time with NASCAR, if that's going to turn into eyeballs on the TV for NASCAR as well.
Taz Taylor.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, by the way. I'm lucky I had the live feed, because it looked like I was a stalemate.
Yeah, we were like, get the thought out, Taz. Get the thought out.
Yeah. The funny part was, like, I'm talking and everybody, like, froze on my end. But anyway. But yeah, I think I want to see how Jordan is and how he reacts in person when, say, like, the team is going slump. Not just saying Reddick in general, but, like, Bubba Wallace, Riley Herbst, even times about Corey Heim. Obviously, we know he will celebrate through thick and thin of victory. We've seen him do it last year with Bubba. We've seen him do it twice this year with Reddick in the 2 races we've had. But now the question is, how interactive, how involved is he during worst times? And holy Christmas, Chris, you freaking blinded me right there.
Blinded by the light. Sorry.
Oh yeah, folks, for those, regardless if you're watching from YouTube or Facebook, give a comment down below. Tell us your thoughts.
Yeah, we're on Fan for Racing, and I believe that it can be verified that we're actually on Facebook, and we're on the channels that we're supposed to be on, the 110 Nation, Fan for Racing, radio and blog, and over here at the Race Chat Live as well. So exciting things going on as we help Fan for Racing grow and grow our own. We want to give a shout out to them. Of course, you can follow their shows weekly as well. Fan for Racing is putting out a show almost every single day. So check out their YouTube channel and their Facebook page, and follow some of the other shows involved, including hot topics and reviews and previews, and even some cool interviews. So how about them views? Okay.
Also,
all right.
Also the fantasy report as well.
The fantasy report as well. Taz Taylor's involved in that one. We're a little bit early on that sponsorship plug because we've still got to talk about Hot Atlanta. Now, it was not Hot Atlanta this weekend. As a matter of fact, it was kind of cold, and the wind was blowing. Yeah, the wind followed us from Daytona to ATL, man. How about that? But what was hot was the action out on the racetrack, right? Like Friday, Friday was qualifying for the trucks in the CW O'Reilly Auto Parts series. But Saturday we had truck racing, and then we had the O'Reilly series.
Well,
I'm already trying to screw it
You
up.
also forgot, you mentioned qualifying for the 2 series. But before the 2 races on Saturday was Cup qualifying, and they got rained out.
Oh, yeah.
They had to fall off of that little metric system or whatever.
Right.
A lot of math that I don't really want to get involved with. That's how NASCAR does it.
I agree with that. So anyway, of course, great racing in the truck series. Now, there was a little bit of controversy for the truck series. We're not used to timed racing in NASCAR. And with the, the weather that had happened, it kind of pushed things back a little bit for the truck race. And so they basically come out and said, look, we're going to start this race, but if we're not done by 4:20 Eastern time, we're going to cut the feed. We're going to go to the last lap, and that's going to be it for the truck race. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, that is very unusual from NASCAR. It was something I wasn't expecting to hear from NASCAR, and I'm going to give you my thoughts in just a minute. Why? I know, Mr. CJ Sports, you want to get on the horn on this one. It did not go well with the race fans. So, Mr. CJ Sports, I'm going to start with you. Let's hear it. I bet you have something that we want to hear.
I swore I saw lights, and I swore I've been to Atlanta, and there were lights. I ain't been to Atlanta since would have been the 95 season when Gordon won his championship. But they do have lights, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought I saw lights there as well. So why a time? Like, why could we not ran the last 10 laps of it? It was not like we were only halfway through a race that darkness didn't make a difference for the NASCAR. But it didn't take about 45 seconds a lap. The next 10, 15 laps, you could have been done in 10, 15 minutes, and you're only delayed 15, 20 minutes. I didn't get that. I'm really confused. So I'm dying to hear your thoughts, but I couldn't wrap my mind around why you wouldn't finish the last just 10, 15 laps of a race when you're that close. It's not like it's halfway. It's not like you got to get the other race in before it got dark. Like, there was really no reason to me.
There was a method to their madness, and Taz Taylor, do you want to go that route? Because I'm going to go for the second part of this. If you're going to come out with why they did it,
a lot of that could be media. Could be a media deal because you have to think trucks is through Fox or Fox Sports 1, whatever, and the O'Reilly series is through CW. So depending on timing of the media side of things, that could play a factor.
It most definitely played a factor. Go ahead, Taz.
No, I was pretty much done.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, my deal is I turned it over to CW expecting to hear the invocation and the green flag fall, and 35, 40 minutes later, that's when the invocation happened. So I was fairly upset that we couldn't finish 10 laps based off of another network grabbing the NASCAR attention. But in reality, they weren't going green flag racing just yet. Everything that they talked about could have been put on a back burner until the truck race was finished. I understand that they had a pre-show planned and whatnot, but this is a give and take business, and shorting the fans the extra 10 laps may have made it better racing. I'm not sure whether or not that played a part in it. I do know that there seemed to be some scurrying going on with the drivers because they knew that there was a time limit. So we may have actually seen a different style race because of that. At the same time, Lord have mercy, but it was chaotic at the end there. Of course, Kyle Busch picked up the win. I mean, wow, that's crazy. But at the same time, I was very disappointed to see a shortened race and then to go over to the CW program and not have an initiation of the race. So they still had to do all their pre-race warm-ups and all that. That could have most definitely been done. Some people might not even watch the truck race. They may only watch the CW event. I just feel like taking away the last couple of laps was not the move in the right direction. NASCAR's always stated, I'm going to say this and then I'll pass it on. NASCAR's always stated we're not going to start a race that we don't think that we can finish in a timely manner. Now, we have seen time-shortened races. Most of the time that is due to darkness, so I can understand the confusion there, Mr. CJ Sports, that, typically in a timed race, we would be facing darkness at a track that has no lights. I'm going to give it back to you one more time.
It was also thrown in the comments that they also needed the time to switch from the Truck Series to the Xfinity Series, get them out there. I'm just not understanding that you still could have, CW still could have started their coverage at the same time and done pit report stuff and talked to the drivers down the Xfinity Series while you were wrapping up. You probably would have been wrapping it up already at that point in time and done pre-show stuff, and you're up in the booth commentary and pit road stuff while it'd be the garage area with the Xfinity Series while they're waiting for the Truck Series people to get off the track. It just didn't make no sense. Like, both of these stations know the possibility, as we've already watched NASCAR get booted off the Clash night, and then had to wait for the basketball game on the next game, which NASCAR got the raw end to deal with both of those. These stations know that the possibilities that might go over, and so did we not work that into negotiations when we're talking? Also, Miss Lee asked, weren't there also drivers doing double duty?
They're unless I go back and look at entry lists, sometimes there could be. I'm going to go back and look.
But you would still have that time when the team switched over for you basically to switch driver suits to get the right sponsor on and get in your vehicle. And go to the bathroom. That's about all the time you're going to have for. But, if you're doing double duty, the possibility. It wasn't like it was a rain change date or anything. So all the drivers knew that there was a possibility. You were getting out of one, going in another already was a possibility. So,
yeah, it just seems like we poop on the Truck Series a lot. And I don't mean to use that word in no derogatory manner. I just feel like between start times that we've seen the last couple of years in the Truck Series, being forced to have timed races because of another network's obligation, it just seems like, Truck Series always is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the series. And to be honest with you guys,
it's probably one of the numbers.
Over the last decade, the Truck Series has kind of outdone most of the other series. Only in the last couple of years, last maybe 3 or 4 years, has actually the O'Reilly series really found its groove. And I believe that's been the exit of all these cup ringers that were coming down and still in the spotlight from Xfinity that gave it a kind of a face that allowed it to finally be its own series. But now, we've got drivers who can compete in there a lot more often than they were able to. So we may slide back in time with that as well. So the Truck Series is its kind of own staple, but unfortunately, they seem to most of the time get the raw end of the deal.
Talking about the NASCAR ringers coming down the Xfinity Series, I had a proud husband moment. There's a wife sitting there watching the Xfinity Series race, and that got brought up, or the Truck Series race, one of them, and talking about how's it fair the Cup guys could have come down and take rides and wins away from all these drivers. It was the first time it ever clicked in her mind of all the time we've watched racing. So I got to have a proud husband moment there this weekend over that.
Right. And look, Kyle Busch put on a clinic and got the pass in and won the truck race Anybody remember who finished the second? I mean,
So it's funny how you mentioned that your wife was bringing that up, and it's always been talked about every year. Fans complain, fans rejoice for it. Honestly, I'm kind of for it, and I'm okay with the limit too that NASCAR has on with them. But I'm okay with them coming down because for drivers who are like full blown serious and want to make the goal of getting to the Cup Series, they're going to have to race those guys. They're going to have to race that style of competition because if they don't and they get to the Cup Series, it's going to be a major wake up call. So if they don't race the Kyle Bushes, the Kyle Larsons, William Byrons, Stenhouse Juniors, just to name a handful, like if they don't get those drivers down in the trucks or O'Reilly series, then they're not going to get prepped for that point.
I get your point. I don't look at it so much that part of it because I feel you're taking rides. I explained the right side, the wife. I'm not a fan of it, but for some of these teams, that helps the sponsor that a Kyle Busch or a Tony Stewart brings to a team in the Truck Series race. Probably helps pay for a couple races in the sponsorships that they bring to it. And they're also there to help mentor these young drivers and give them opportunities. I'm more of a Cup Series driver who's going to run in the series. They need to run their own teams. That way they are more of an even play field. I don't care if Kyle Busch ran every single race, but as long as it was with Kyle Busch Motorsports, that he was building a brand and on a level play field instead of racing for Joe Gibbs Racing or something. And it can't be an affiliation. Like, you have to build your own stuff. Then I wouldn't have so much of a problem with it. And to answer your question, Chris, Carson Hocevar, however you say his name, that was who was number 2. And they, for a moment, became best friends this weekend, him and Kyle Busch there.
That is true. Carson kind of felt like he helped Kyle Busch win that race, and maybe he did. Without a doubt, he was there at the end. Let's jump over to the O'Reilly. I'm going to say Xfinity so many times, y'all. O'Reilly series real quick. Sheldon Creed. We've watched this kid, man. He come up in the Truck Series about the same time Noah Gragson did. I think with Kyle Busch Motorsports. I do have an opinion about the Cup Raiders, Cup drivers coming down and raiding the other series. I'll call them Cup Raiders if I have to, because that's exactly what they do. They come down, they steal the pot from the younger guys. And some of y'all might like it. Some of y'all say, well, that's them learning. But there's nothing that feels better than like this weekend when Sheldon Creed beat Ross Chastain to the checkered flag, right? And that's, I guess, a moment to be prideful. But you expect Kyle Busch to come into a Truck Series and wax everybody's tail. So I just want that to be known that that's the side that I come from. But let's talk about Sheldon Creed real quick. I mean, he's been in the Xfinity Series. He's been around for a decade, and he just now got an O'Reilly Racing Parts victory. It's first, I think, in 5 years that he's been in the Xfinity Series or something to that effect.
And I think he got 7. I think he had 17 or 18 second place finishes.
15 second place finishes, Taz Taylor. 15 runner-up finishes.
Hey, I was off.
I mean, the kid has been runner-up more than Ted Musgrave, right? Thank you for that for the comment there. 15 runner-up finishes by Sheldon Creed. So he's been there. He's just not been able to capitalize. So I don't know about y'all. I love a first-time winner. It's been a long time. I've seen Sheldon really get on himself and bow his head in defeat so many times before. The ecstatic celebration that he had in Victory Lane was a very good feeling for myself, watching a guy who's probably at times doubted his own talent and wondered why he was still there. And, basically, he's racing for a contract right now. And so hopefully this win will kind of help him succeed another contract in the O'Reilly series. You guys got any thoughts about Sheldon Creed and his victory? I'll start with you, Taz Taylor. We're going to go to CJ Sports.
But yeah, I was glad to see him win. Miss Lee, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I believe ARCA series possibly we had him on the show way back in the day. So yeah, he's been around a while. Glad to see him in Victory Lane. Another great race. seemed like there was something I wanted to say about one of the other drivers. I can't remember, but go ahead, Taz. But I was glad to see Sheldon finally get into victory.
You're not thinking Austin Hillbilly or Bobby Hill, as he could be referred to as.
No, I can't stand that. That's what I want to talk about. I can't stand that. I don't know, something about Austin Hill that rubs me wrong. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
But,
so Austin Hill had a chance to win, and buddy, when he went to the front, I said, "Man, it is over for these guys." Austin Hill has found the front row, and then he got spun.
I will give him props, and I want to also give Jordan Anderson Racing props.
Oh, for sure.
Because, for one, Austin Hill, yes, he made a late block on Chastain, but damn, the dude freaking saved it. Wow. Normally everybody spins out from the field and causes a whole calamity of a mess, but dude saved it. But, I think Jordan Anderson Racing needs to get some props too, because, yes, I know that's Ross Chastain behind the wheel, and I know this is a drafting track, but the fact of the matter is, one of your cars for a low-budget team was running up front.
Right.
Competing for a win.
Right. Was there. How about that? How about that racing there, man? There was guys that were able to get out. They were able to pass. I know several had said that it reminds them of the old Daytona Talladega. I did kind of have that feeling, and it really felt like the guys were more in control of the race. It did not feel so much like a Talladega or a Daytona as it's had in the past. It really felt like the old style super speedway racing, and possibly just the old style racing that we once had in the Cup Series. I see you got all excited with that, Mr. CJ.
I was getting ready to say the same thing. Like, I don't see Atlanta as a drafting. That was not a drafting race to me. It was a great race, but cars didn't. We watched cars pass 1 or 2 or 3 cars at a time without a drafting partner at times. As long as you had that nice run, like Daytona, you weren't doing that. If you weren't close together, you weren't passing 3 or 4 cars by yourself. Once and maybe in a blue moon, and that's maybe if somebody checked up. But any given time, if you had the right momentum in Atlanta, like, you could have done it by yourself. And it was much easier with the drafting partner, but it's just not. When I think drafting, I think of Talladega and Daytona. That's it. Now, I understand there is some drafting to it, but there's some drafting to a lot of tracks we don't view as drafting. But
this race is more closer towards the super speedway than the typical mile and a half that you're thinking of. Like, yes, I get your point of, like, Las Vegas, Chicagoland when we get there is going to be racing the same way. I remember Auto Club, I think the Next Gens ran on it the first year the Next Gen car was there. I mean, yes, some of that has drafting into factor. Michigan's another one, I know that. But this one, I feel like the first few, the last few years with Atlanta, it raced more like a super speedway because of the pavement, because of the repave and everything else, and how highly aerodynamic these next gen cars are. So I feel like Atlanta in this case kind of plays more into the drafting style. Now, to your point, Mr. CJ, I understand and I get where you're coming from for this race, because this race wasn't so much of super speedway style racing at times, was it? But it's still kind of more. I think once the track, the repave kind of, gets its wear and tear over the years, I think we'll start getting away from the more drafting reliability. But this track, I don't compare this track to Daytona or Talladega by any means necessary, because you're talking a mile and a half. Everything's much closer. So, yes, when you get that momentum off the corner, regardless if it's off of turn 2 down the backstretch or turn 4 coming to the square tri-oval, then, yeah, you're going to be able to pass cars easy, because there's you're not talking about going down a full-blown straightaway and hope to God that your speed gets you to carry with or without a teammate throughout that whole straightaway.
Right. All right. That's the O'Reilly series. Anything else other than just some great racing, good side-by-side, late inning passes? Let's jump over to the Cup Series. Of course, we've already talked about and opened the show with Michael Jordan. We've said a lot about him. Now let's move on. Let's move to Tyler Reddick real quick. Tyler Reddick, getting ready for the stat of the day here in just a second. Tyler Reddick becomes one of only 6 drivers. First of all, stat of the day, bop, bop, stat of the day, bop, bop. All right. Everybody dance now. Tyler Reddick becomes one of only 6 drivers to ever open the season with 2 consecutive race wins. And I'll be honest with you guys, there's 6 people on this list, but only 3 of them are modern day NASCAR drivers, and I'll leave it at that. Jeff Gordon did it in 97. Matt Kenseth did it in 2009. Tyler Reddick in 2026. The other 3 drivers are Marvin Punch in 1957, Bob Wellborn in 1959, and the Silver Fox himself, David Pearson, all the way back in 1976. So, modern day, it's not happened often, and we don't expect it to happen often, right? This is the ultimate competitive series in the NASCAR Cup Series. But he did, and he was able to accomplish it. But he was able to accomplish it with a missing right front fender. And I've asked the question, did that help Tyler Reddick? And a lot of people said, how in the heck can a missing right fender, a damaged race car, help him win? And so it started this conspiracy theory that NASCAR was basically in it to let Tyler Reddick win the first 2 races of the season because of the lawsuit. Well, I wear a tinfoil hat every day, but I'm not buying that. It's simple. It's aerodynamics, guys. That right front fender missing allowed a lot of air to go underneath that race car, and it went to the diffuser. It became a competitive advantage. Whether or not that was intentional, of course it wasn't intentional. It was just one of those things where, and maybe NASCAR looks into it. Maybe they change the rule. Maybe you have to put a right front fender on it from now on, especially if they believe it. If not, we'll let it slide, and we'll let the conspiracy theorists believe that NASCAR was just going to throw the first 2 races of the year because Michael Jordan beat them in the courts. No, what would happen if NASCAR was trying to retaliate or to anything to that matter was that they would break the car down into a million pieces, including the Daytona winning 500, the 500 winning race car, and it wouldn't be sitting over there in the museum right now for a whole year. It would still be at the NASCAR R&D Center being torn down completely as they tried to find something to throw that car out. So, by no means do I think that they piggybacked off of each other. Thank you, Miss Lee. She's there. Missing fender created more downforce. Now, I'll get to you, Taz Taylor. Let's do it, man. Come on.
I'm going to add more into your stat for the day here.
Okay.
Because when that Marvin Panch or Fance, whatever, because Reddick has a chance to go for 3 in a row.
Oh,
However,
no.
Finishing the Marvin guy, after he won the first 2 races, he finished 3rd in the 3rd race. Then you go to the Wellburn guy, he finished 41st in the 3rd race. Moving on to David Pearson, he finished 29th in the 3rd race after going 2 in a row. Moving to Jeff Gordon, who was 4th, I do believe, if I remember that part right. And then Matt Kenseth finished 43rd in the 3rd race.
I remember that. Yeah.
Now, he cannot set the record for the worst finish after winning 2 races in a row. That's going to go to Matt Kenseth for that 43rd spot. Right. Obviously, we can only run 40 cars. Well, 41 for now that we're going to a road course. But hey, NASCAR, are you going to be stupid and give us provisional away that doesn't need to be given away?
Right.
But anyway, Reddick has a shot to write history in the books for NASCAR. to be the first driver to go 3 for 3. We are going to COTA, a track he is good at.
Yeah, he's won a past winner back in 2023.
So get those history books ready, because Reddick could possibly make a chance at history.
So why didn't he seem too confident in his chances of winning at COTA? He made it seem like he just performed well there when they were talking about it after the race in the interview.
Because you have to think, when it comes to road course racing, who are the drivers chasing after now?
Oh, SVG, Dinger. I mean, you know.
A Kiwi!
A Kiwi. Yeah, he only lost one road course race last year, right? He was 5 for 6, I believe.
Yeah, he lost one last year, and then Watkins Glen, outside of pit strategy, dominated that race I was there for and got a last lap pass from Chris Buescher.
All right. Well, that's Tyler Reddick in the news. Now, also making some waves over the weekend was Carson Hocevar. The Hurricane
Hocevar.
Hurricane Hocevar. The Hurricane. He makes shit happen.
Yeah, he needs his own theme song. Here I am, rock you like a hurricane.
Oh gosh, where's Craig Moore when we need him?
Yes.
Mr. DJ, Mr. DJ, play me a
Music
song. Yeah, so here's Hurricane Hocevar. Do you guys remember this? Like, this is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen this with Ross Chastain. We've seen this with Kyle Busch. Larry Mack compared him to Joey Logano. I just didn't buy that. Joey Logano was a very conservative racer in the beginning. We all, we didn't really see the spark, right, from Joey Logano. It took Joey Logano passing Kyle Busch, I believe in 2018, or to that matter, maybe a little bit before. No, I guess it was before that. Maybe it was 2014, 2015. He passed Kyle Busch in the last lap for the win right there at the flag stand. And I looked at my wife and I said, he does have it. He's got the talent. He's going to be a superstar. Of course, he's got the championships now to prove it. But I really kind of compare Carson Hocevar, the Hocevar, to maybe the beginning years of Kyle Busch. We watched Kyle Busch come on the scene in 2005, and that kid was super duper fast. But boy, he wrecked race cars, and he put himself in bad situations real quick. And it really got him turned upside down, and eventually got him kicked out of a Hendrick ride, right? So what are you guys' thoughts, Hurricane Hocevar, as we get ready to go to our next segment, Under the Hood?
Pouring my way in this way. He's fun to watch. As long as we don't get to a point that he's taking out the entire field, then at that point you got to reevaluate it. But it's fun to watch. It's exciting. I'm not a Hurricane fan. But Hocevar, I know I'm going to keep jacking up his name. That's why I went with Hurricane. Hocevar fan per se, but I like the energy. I like the excitement. Now, if he sat there and takes out my driver, I'm probably going to have a different opinion of it. Who knows? But at the end of the day, is he going to get anybody to work with them? That's going to be his downfall if he ends up failing, is whether or not he's going to be able to tone this down enough that he gets people that are willing to work with them. Because if nobody's going to work with them, especially these draft races, you're not going to have a friend out there, and you're not going to be successful. Right now, people are still playing with them a little bit. They kind of do it in reservation, but they're still willing to work with them. We watched him and Kyle Busch at the Truck Series race, and you saw this weekend him run out front. But if he keeps making these moves and keeps causing wrecks, you're eventually going to burn all your bridges, and that will be his downfall if he can't get nobody to want to work with him, and he's just kind of blacklisted amongst the drivers. So it'll be interesting if he at least brings it in. Kyle Busch, nobody wanted to work with him for a long time. Fans all hated him. He had to tone it down there, and once he kind of brought it down some, he would have drivers work with him. The fans didn't like him until he pretty much went to RCR. But he started to get the people work with them, and he started winning and everything else. Hocevar's got to find that same sweet spot If he's want to have a career and people want to work with him have actual literal teammates as well. Because if he ain't willing to work with nobody and tone it down, nobody's even going to want to be on that team.
Right. Taz.
Yeah, shoot. When I get to what you're saying, and he's got to find a way to tone it down a bit. I like the aggression. I like the ambition that he's going for. I mean, shoot, they're late in the race. He was making moves nobody else would even consider thinking of making. Right. However, I will say in the one caution, and I know we will more than likely agree to disagree on this one, but there was I feel like that split second of a window, I wouldn't even say a split second, maybe half a freaking second that he had of that window open. Was it really there? No, but he did have a lot of bump drafting help from behind. Not from one car, but from two cars who were locked bumper to bumper. So that kind of played into that factor. So I don't fully blame Hocevar in that one. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. But again, if you want to create allies, because I remember Hocevar going on Dale Jr. Download, and he has mentioned that he doesn't really hang out with anybody outside the track. He doesn't really, during race weekends, he doesn't really kind of chill out with drivers during.
Right. He brings his friends to the racetrack.
Garage. Shoot. Carson Hocevar, I just realized the other day, doing the iRacing, the official NASCAR iRacing series or whatever, trying to qualify for that crap. And I'm like, dude, you're a full-time Cup driver. Like, I understand you want to do iRacing, but dude, give somebody else. This is the one thing I will say. I am against of the Cup drivers going down to another level and racing at. And that's the iRacing side. Let the iRacing people be the iRacing.
No. Get out of here with that take. Come on, clip that. I want that clipped. I mean, look, my son has raced Carson Hocevar on iRacing. He's raced other drivers.
I'm all for the free-for-all, but running official NASCAR races on the iRacing circuit.
Oh, the official. Okay. I might can let you slide on that one, but I wouldn't have it either way. So if it was up to me, I would say race your own series and leave the other guys to make names for themselves. But Carson Hocevar, definitely Hurricane Hocevar, has earned his name. I think he caught a little bit of flack for the Christopher Bell move. There was a hole there. He was being being aggressive. He's trying to get that win. He's got his tongue hanging out, y'all. He wants to get that win. He wants to prove himself capable in the Cup Series. And look, when you add your name to the Cup Series victory, you're adding your name to a very special list, and it's something to prove. And you know what? Some guys only get one win. Ask Trevor Bayne. Ask Bobby Hillin Jr. Sometimes that win just comes one time, and you never get to taste that victory again. So Carson knows that he's got the equipment to get him there, and he's doing everything that he can. I really compare Carson more to an Ernie Irvan, but I know that Ernie probably come up in a time where neither one of y'all was actually following the sport. Matter of fact, Taz, you may be so young that you weren't even born when Ernie Irvan was in the Cup Series in 91, 92. What year were you born? Like 96. Yeah. So like he had already suffered a major head concussion at Michigan and was working on his second concussion by that time. So
which days Irv you talk about? The 4 Kodiak? You talk about when he took over the 28 car?
No, in 91 when he had to sit in front of it, when he took the stand in front of the drivers meeting and apologized for being an aggressive driver. And that he would tone it down. As a matter of fact, it was either 90 or 91, and it was on the helm of Neil Bonnet. He was caught in a wreck, and Neil Bonnet actually suffered a severe injury. And Rusty Wallace said he just didn't want to race with him, and that he didn't need to be there. And Ernie got in front of his peers in a drivers meeting and basically said, "I'm going to be a smarter racer. I'm going to take into consideration of other people," and it really started an upward drive for Ernie. Ernie had a lot of natural talent coming into the Cup Series, but he couldn't stay anywhere because, he would wreck race cars. And so he got with Kodak. He got over there at Morgan McClure Racing, and they knew that he was a racer that had a lot of talent, and they gave him a fast race car to race in. Of course, he won the Daytona 500. Ernie has etched himself into, one of the greatest drivers to ever be in a race car. Unfortunately, his injuries sidelined him at a very quick time, or we could have seen a different champion between the Jeff Gordon years. Of course, Jeff Gordon, was able to capitalize on so many things that happened in the Cup Series between the deaths of Davey Allison and Alan Kawicki and Ernie Irvin getting hurt. Jeff Gordon may not have had the 4 Cup Series championships that he had we not lost several of these drivers to major injuries throughout Gordon's racing career. So Hocevar is going to get it together. He's going to be in victory lane, and we'll have him up again here in just a little bit in the next segment. We've got to move along.
However, I was excited. I freaking picked them for fantasy this week because, boy, when Kyle Busch wrecked out, I was like, Hocevar, you're in the starting gate. And, man, he came back from multiple laps down to competing for a win.
Right. So let's move to Under the Hood. Our next segment, we're running a little bit behind tonight, so we're going to start out Under the Hood, talking about Chris Gabehart. This is where we dive in deep to the depths of what's really going on in the racing world. Of course, all of this is about hot topics that are going on through the Cup Series, but Under the Hood is a little bit more in depth, where you really bring out the challenges that certain people are facing, or in this case, NASCAR. Once again, after 2 years.
Going to NASCAR.
Yeah, NASCAR going to NASCAR. Dum, dum, dum. Where's the Law and Order? Come on, where's Craig Moore? give us more to music here, man. Come on, we need.
Yeah, right?
we need. What? Anybody can hum the Law and Order startup. I can't even try. So anyway, there's a lawsuit going on. Chris Gabehart has left JGR. We heard that at the beginning of the season, the Gabehart had decided to leave JGR. We kind of figured there was a little bit more to the story. Gabehart, of course, had taken over basically the full-time duties of watching over all the race cars last year over at JGR, and it was helping Ty Gibbs, try to get him a victory, as he is in a forever slump up there in the Cup Series. But then all of a sudden, just poof, he was gone. And we didn't know why. Well, now we found out why. So JGR has now, Joe Gibbs Racing has filed a federal lawsuit against former competition director Chris Gabehart in the Western District of North Carolina. JGR is seeking more than $8 million in damages. The core allegation, JGR says Gabehart stole confidential information and trade secrets to benefit rival team Spire Motorsports as he was leaving the organization. Gabehart was one of JGR's most senior competition leaders, promoted from Denny Hamlin's crew chief to competition director before the 2025 race season. JGR says that on November 6th of 2025, Gabehart met with Joe Gibbs and demanded a carte blanche authority over all racing decisions. Obviously, Gabehart felt like there was some things not moving in the right direction over there, and we do know that Heather Gibbs is the forefront of the team right now. There has been several deaths in the family that have given the reins over to Miss Heather Gibbs. So there may have been something, going on there that Gabehart seen and was very concerned about it. Well, when Gibbs declined the suit, claims that Gabehart said he wanted to leave and then embarked on a brazen scheme to take JGR's most sensitive data for use at Spire. After learning he had been talking with Spire, JGR did a forensic review of the team-issued laptop and alleges it showed misuse transfer of confidential information. JGR accuses him of breaching his employment contract, including a non-compete, non-solicitation provisions, and of violating federal stats, trade secrets, laws, and unfair trade practices and statutes. What Gabehart has said, Gabehart has publicly and forcibly denied the allegations, saying he did not steal or misuse JGR's information. He says he allowed a forensic review of his personal devices and that it did not show wrongdoing, arguing that JGR's claims are false and damaging. Spire Motorsports has now officially confirmed Gabehart as its chief motorsports officer, even with the lawsuit pending. So that's where we stand in this lawsuit. Now, allegedly, and I'll use that word because I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, but But you're talking about a guy who's gone to the front office and said, look, I'm concerned about the direction the company's going. I want to take full control here because I love this organization. I've been here for a long time, and I really feel like I can right the helm here. Well, you've got a new leadership person in command there. They might have taken that personal. Oh, I can't do my job. I'm not doing my job right. How dare you come in my office and tell me that I don't know how to do my job? And that's where the poop got thrown on the wall, right? And so now this is a he said, or he said, she said, and JGR has taken the next step and basically is suing Chris Gabehart for stealing intellectual property. Now, up until this point, I think that we've all thought that crew chiefs kind of made their notebooks, as Suitcase Jake did back in the day, and he would take his notes to wherever he may go, and wherever Suitcase Jake went, he made fast race cars. Well, that may not be the case anymore in the Cup Series, as we are now in this, this intellectual property type of atmosphere that we are in now. And there's so many things that's in contracts that we don't even know the mumbo jumbo of. I'm going to start with you, Mr. CJ Sports. I've given you some notes to work off of. Hopefully I've gotten you guys caught up. What is your stance right now? What's your opinion on what's going on in today's? Can we get the William Shatner's People's Court theme song? What's going on between NASCAR and Chris Gabehart and JGR?
Well, first, obviously, Chris Gabehart is not misusing the information because Spire Motorsports has looked good. So, obviously, he's using the information correctly because it's helped their performance. But on a serious note, like I sent you guys earlier today, I tell you what, that takes some big balls to work for a race team and then have a file name the team you're going to and have confidential information in that file. Like that
I
takes
knew you wanted that one.
I
left it for you, buddy.
Balls, like,
the brass kahunas.
Like I just couldn't imagine like somebody having that big of kahunas to like, and then not delete it. Like,
yeah, it's like putting a derogatory comment on a test and turning it into your teacher. Like that's what this kind of feels like. And it almost doesn't feel right? It almost feels like maybe somebody placed that there, right? And allegedly. I mean, I want to make sure that we're staying within. Something sounds a little fishy about all this.
Well, I mean, he's not arguing that it's not the correct information. It's just he's not misusing it. Is his whole claim. So there's at least got to be some truth to it all. And then I've also heard different to your possible theory that Joe Gibbs is just not a person that wants one person in charge of everything, that he has different departments. He wants to have a team, not just one person overall, because from what I understand, he essentially wanted power over everything versus just being head of over competition and then basically being equals with other departments. He wanted to be over everybody. So that was another theory that I heard as well. And then I don't know if you talked about a part of that. Is that me?
Sorry. No, okay. It's my.
I thought I didn't know what I was
just say. My wife just left for a fire call. So I know it ain't me.
Yeah,
I was
so, ding, 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 ding.
I was so confused. Yeah, I didn't know if I was the only one hearing it or anything else. Also, I heard that he came back in the office the day after he was turned down, and 15 minutes was on his phone taking pictures of file information that had sponsorship deals, driver contracts, all the kind of the breakdown of what JGR is doing, kind of giving him, Spire, insider how to run the company or whatever. I heard a couple other things. I always thought same thing with you, Chris. When you went somewhere else, you got to take your information. I thought that was just a given, and so it puts. I don't know. It would put me to rethink if I was ever going to be a crew chief or in his position, and knowing that if I leave, like, I'm not allowed to use anything or any knowledge that I've had for the last 10 years that I've used. Like, so I'm not quite understanding what they're allowed to take and not allowed to take. Now, obviously, you can't copy stuff off the computer and literally take the information. But anything, and from what I heard, they were writing and actually I had to ask the wife what the daggone pension, not pension. What is it when you're when a company closes and you pay employees so much
severance?
Yes,
Yeah,
they're working on a severance plan, and basically they just told him that he couldn't poach the team and he couldn't take the personal information, the information he ended up taking, and they were going to give him severance pay, and he did all this. Like, I'm just confused by what should be allowed, not be allowed, because it would make it hard for me to want to be in that position, knowing, okay, if I leave Joe Gibbs Racing, I really can't go anywhere else because I got to play dumb and basically act like I'm from day one because I'm not allowed to take any information, or you just require me not to take what's on the. Yeah, I don't know. It's a whole weird thing to me.
Taz Taylor.
Well, first things first. Unlike the NASCAR of 2311 versus NASCAR, this thing got ugly quick. I mean, shoot, freaking the 2311 versus NASCAR court case freaking took months and months to build up. Then it got ugly all of a sudden in like 2 days when they were in trial and whatever. Right. This whole thing freaking blew up in a matter of as I think I was catching I think it was Eric Estep's coverage of this, and he said like, oh, here's day one, and now day two, here's a lawsuit, and this happened, and I'm like, holy crap, this thing got blown up in a quick manner, and ugly quick. But anyway, obviously, like, you can't sit there and say there's got to be something amiss here, as you mentioned, Mr. CJ, because you can't sit here and say, okay, Gabehart has worked for GGR for what? Say 5-10 years, and he can't take any ounce of knowledge or what he learned from the JGR team in those 5-10 years, regardless if he was crew chief, competition director, whatever roles he played in for that team. You can't sit there and say that he can't take anything from there and bring it over to another team that he works for.
Right.
I can understand if he took a handwritten notebook that belongs to JGR and he took it and said, I'm bringing it with me. Bye-bye. And I could see that side where JGR is coming after him. But, I mean, that's like saying...
But how about the non-compete clause? What does that actually mean? Like, he had a non-compete clause so that he can't go to another organization within a certain period of time?
So if you... you say Mr. CG's muted. But if... I'm going to make a wrestling reference here. When, say, a WWE wrestler gets released, or whether it's by choice or not, or whatever happened, or the contract just expires, depending on the deal, sometimes you get what's called a 90-day compete clause, right. Which means when that person gets released from that company, they can't go to another company of that same ordeal for 90 days. Sometimes they don't even get a non-compete clause. I'm using wrestling as a reference because that's the best way I know how to put it. So for Gabehart, if he was given a non-compete clause, that means anything NASCAR, I think it would have to be NASCAR related sort of deal. He can't compete, like say he can't be with, say if he signs with Spire, but he's got a non-compete clause for say 60 days or whatever. For 60 days, Spire can't really rely on him in terms of like race day experience. That would be to my understanding of that side of things.
See,
I'm not sure.
originally there wasn't, from what I understand, there was not a non-compete clause in there. Basically, they told him just don't poach any of the employees to come to Spire, and don't take any sensitive information. Now, the lawsuit, that's where the non-complete clauses came in, and it's an 8. They're pushing for an 18-month non competition or whatever it's called clause, and I think that's just their way to kind of, you want to take our information, we're going to make you sit on the sidelines for the next 18 months and really not be relevant to NASCAR as kind of your punishment, is how I'm kind of taking that. And also it kind of gives them 18 months where he has no knowledgeable information. Like, he's not, by that time you're going to have new setups, new, a whole bunch of new stuff. So all the notes are kind of out the window at that point at 18 months from now as well.
You're muted.
You're muted, Chris.
Let's jump over here in the comments real quick, because I kind of feel like we've kind of muted our staff that's in the back sending us comments and stuff. Miss Lee said patents. If not, how is it classified? That's a good question. And how do you prove it is property info? Proprietary, right? Proprietary info. That's a good question as well. There, this is a new age of NASCAR where these cars are assembled. They're not built, and so it really does change the game. It changes the rules on how things are done. So I'm that's what this lawsuit's going to be about, right? That's what we're going to find out in this lawsuit. What capabilities do teams have now to control that kind of information? And Fan for Racing, Ms. Sharon asked, anything he does at JGR is considered their property, and this is the digital age. I heard he had a personal cloud file while he stored everything that he was doing at JGR. That's very interesting. You wonder if, that was only a problem when he decided that he was going to leave. It says also anything he does at JGR is considered their property. And, okay, wait a minute. Is that okay. But did he have a non-compete clause? I must have missed that. Yes, he did have a non-compete clause, Miss Lee. There was not a non-compete. I believe it is, because that's the reason Spire can't put him into the same position that he was in at JGR for the time being. He had to accept a different position at Spire because he has a non-compete clause that says that he's not allowed to have the same position for another race team. I think that was part of the whole lawsuit part of it, and you might be right. I know originally, no, it wasn't at first. At first, from what I heard, was they told him not to poach any employees, don't take any classified information. Right. They knew what he was going to go do over there, and then I don't know, once they dug into it, that they changed that, and he couldn't take the same position. And Spire tries to reword it in a way to make it sound like it's not the same position. Is rather hilarious, and Big Balls as well. We're not going to call it compete manager or whatever they're called, competition manager or whatever. We're going to call it something else to get around it. But originally, no, from what I understand, it was not. It's only because they found out what they found out that things changed, and they pulled back the severance pay, and now they're actually trying to do an 18-month no compete clause period. And Spire has now, as of today, been brought into the lawsuit. I didn't have that information laid out in front of me to exactly give the direction of why Spire was added to the lawsuit, but I believe it has everything to do with him being appointed to a position. Now JGR is saying that he should not be employed anywhere, that he has a non-compete clause, and he should be unemployed until that compete clause is final. So, all these things are going to be figured out through the Justice Court, and it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out in the future. So we'll keep y'all posted. The more we find out, it'll be an interesting thing. NASCAR continues on in the NASCAR saga drama. Thank God this time it's not NASCAR involved, but it's the team. So, last year we had Rick Ware Racing, and I believe it was Jimmy Johnson's team, Legacy Motorsports Club, caught up in a lawsuit that drug BK RFK Racing into the mix. So that got resolved. Now this year we've got a little bit of a different scenario with the crew chief or former competition director that has now left one organization for a better job, maybe at another organization. Now, we seen last year Rodney Childers didn't last very long in that position, but obviously Spire did not like the direction that Rodney Childers was going in, or Rodney Childers didn't like the direction Spire was going in, and that quickly dissolved. But it looks like Spire's continuing to move the goalpost as they try to become more of a powerhouse organization. There's a lot of money going into that Spire Motorsports team, and I think they are moving in the right direction. And grabbing somebody like Chris Gabehart is a good move. Just now, there's a whole lot of legal mumbo jumbo that's going to be behind all this.
So let's just say that the reports that we've heard is true, that he had a file, had a bunch of sensitive information. He took pictures of, operation information. Say all that's true. Yeah. What should happen then, Chris? What's your opinion?
First of all, since we're talking about files, he shouldn't have had Spire on his computer. It should have been the Epstein files, and maybe nobody would have opened it up.
They're all been blacked out or everything else.
Somebody get the air conditioning. Holy crap, it just got hot all of a sudden. Damn!
And if we're talking about emails, then we definitely need to look at Hillary Clinton's laptop. So, I don't know. Did I answer your question, Mr. CJ Sports? I'm sorry, I was just holding that one in, man. It was burning at the collar, buddy.
I'm just saying, if we found it all to be true and everything that has been laid out in this lawsuit, that he stole all this information, what should be done? Should Spire have to fire him? Should there be a time where he's out of NASCAR? Does this now rewrite what the teams need to do with what's the end game?
Yeah, I think that this will be a game changer. As a matter of fact, I think Tyler Reddick kind of changed the game with this signing on a contract while you're still under contract. It kind of pushed the goalpost and made it a little bit different, volatile situation, and teams are going to be reactive to that. You yourself, as a crew chief or a team member, you're going to have to protect yourself as well. So you're going to have the battle of who actually controls that non-compete clause. And whether or not, very nice courtroom back there. I like that. Taz Taylor with showing us the courtroom back there. Is that Judge Judy or is that Judge
Night Court?
Brown? Night Court.
Night Court.
There you go.
This is NASCAR. Get it right.
So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be a game changer, right? This is going to set the precedent for the future, and we'll see how this eventually lays out in future contracts. This is going to be something to really keep our ears out for as we start learning what's going to be the direction with certain team members when they decide that they're no longer going to stay at the organization that they were originally with. And intellectual property and all this stuff, we're going to find out a whole lot, just as we did with the lawsuit between NASCAR and 2311 and Front Row Motorsports. But this time, I think we're going to get a little bit more of, what you can and you can't do in these types of contracts. So, it's up to the state of North Carolina to decide whether or not anything that it was signed there from it can actually be held legally. You can sign a lot of things and petition that signature, and it's up to the court to decide whether or not to uphold that as an actual contract. So we'll see how the state of North Carolina holds this and see how far it goes. But we got to move quickly. It's 7:19 already. I know we're kind of behind schedule. Let's talk real quick. Taz Taylor, I'm going to leave it to you. I think that you have a little bit more in-depth information with the upcoming All-Star event that has been announced at the Dover Downs at Dover Motor Speedway. Taz Taylor, it's confusing as all get out. Please let us know quickly, or within a timely manner, what's going on with the All-Star race. Who's in, who's out, who doesn't get to race, who's going to race, what kind of averages is going to go on. Are we inverting? Are we running the race on Saturday or Sunday? What's the deal, man? Because I am completely confused on if this is even an All-Star event. I don't even know what this is.
So I had to get an explanation from Bob Pockris to get a full, complete understanding. Because you know what, Bob Pockris, the guy's a legend. I mean, he's still got a career ahead. He's still got a career ahead of him, no matter. Even though he's put in so many years already, he's still got a career ahead of him. And the guy's a legend. But I had to go to his explanation of how this whole thing worked, because when I read the article 2, 3, 4, 5 freaking times, I couldn't understand anything. And then I go to Bob Pockers and he explains it, and it's like, oh, now I get it. Anyway,
Oh, I get it.
so so this new all-star format, qualifying will be how it's been in the last few years, where they involve the pit crew. So 1 lap, full speed, and then their second lap, they come into pit road, do a 4-tire pit stop, no gas during that pit stop, and then they finish the lap, and that's your qualifying time. That will set up the lineup for a full 40-car field. Yes, I said full 40-car field, because we're now taking the All-Star Open and the All-Star Race and combining into one. Why? Because NASCAR says, let's confuse the fans and everything else. Why not? But anyway, so the new format is a 350-lap race. The first 150, so the qualifying will set up the lineup for the start of that. The first 150 laps will be split into 2 segments, twin 75 lappers. After all 40 cars for the first 150 laps. After the first 75 laps, the top 26 will be inverted. So if you are first at the end of lap 75, you're now going to restart 26th. If you're 26th, you're not going to restart on the pole. And then the next 75 laps, and everybody behind from 27th on back will start the second 75 lapper, however they finish. And then after the full 150 laps, the best 8. Well, at the moment we have 17 cars locked in to the 200 lap main event true all-star race. And at the moment we have 17 guaranteed, and they're going to do a 26 car all-star race 200 lap format. Right now we have 17 guaranteed. So at the moment we would need 8 of the best, and it's by like a golf score. So you want the lower combined finish. So if you finish third, yes, right there. So if you finish third in segment 1 and 5th in segment 2, you're going to get a score of 8. So you want the lower score for that part. And then of course your fan vote will be the last car in. So as of right now, 17 are locked in, which means 8 have to, and then so it'll be the best 8 out of the 275 lappers, and then your fan vote, and that will make up your 26 car field for the 200 lapper. Everybody else will be getting off the track. As of right now, of course, the qualifications for this 200 lapper for the drivers guaranteed in race winners from last year, 2025, and 2026 up to this point. Then you have past NASCAR champions who are currently running full time, so no part timers. We don't want you here. And then of course, and then past All-Star race winners are guaranteed into this.
For those that are listening and they can't see the screen, that gives you Chastain, Cindric,
you got Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, Chase Briscoe, Christopher Bell, Josh Berry, Joey Logano, Bubba Wallace, William Byron, Tyler Reddick, SVG, Shane Van Gisbergen, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Busch are all guaranteed into this 200 lap finale. So as of today, 8 more will get in after the 2 segments, and then a fan vote to make up the 26 car field for the final 200 lapper. But the 75 and 75 is based upon your combined finish of the two. So like I said, if you finish third in segment 1 and fifth in segment 2, your score is 8. The lower you make that score, think of golf. The lower your score, the better you're going to be. The higher your score, the worse you are. You're muted.
Confusing. It's confusing, NASCAR. Who come up with this?
I don't know. Sounds kind of interesting. Like I think as we watch it play out, I don't think it'll be as confusing. Now, if it'll end up being as interesting as it sounds it could be, that's to be seen. But I don't think it'll be as confusing once they're out there.
The one downfall I have to this is being that we're running all 40 cars for the first 150 laps. The guy's guaranteed, so as of right now, 17, the guy's guaranteed. If they get screwed on lap 27 and they can't race that 200 lap,
right?
They're screwed. NASCAR, you're just screwing your own damn drivers.
Didn't they, when they did the 2 race format, didn't they still, half of them still racing each of the already, correct?
What's that?
That's when they did the 2 races. They all still raced just in each races, right?
No. It was the All-Star Open, which was the guys not guaranteed in. Those are the only ones racing.
I was thinking for some reason there was 2 races and they did.
There were 2 races. There was an Open and there was an actual All-Star race.
No, I was thinking it was 2. I was thinking it was 2 before the actual All-Star race for some reason.
No, there's only 1, but yeah. So.
There's basically 10 open spots. What's the deal with that? There's
9.
Right now,
9 open spots.
There's 9 open spots, but 8 will be getting in from the first 2 segments, and then of course your fan vote.
Yeah, I just don't understand why we're not running a full race and just making it a non-points race. I like the invert. It's been a long time since I've seen the invert. That takes me back to the 90s. When the fans could vote on the invert of the field. I think there may be a little bit of that in the 2000s as well. But I do like the invert. But, as you said, Taz, what's going to suck is when a competitive driver gets caught up in an incident in one of the first 2 stages and they're no longer able to compete for the $1 million there at the end. So, look, it just kind of feels like a race. It doesn't really feel like an all-star event. We're only sending 20 after we're gonna have a total of 20.
We're gonna go from 40. We're gonna go from 40 at the start of lap 1. Then after lap 150, we're gonna be dropping it down to 26.
Yeah, 26. So this would be fun at like a Bowman Gray or a small racetrack like that. Mr. CJ Sports, go ahead.
I got 2 things. One, Miss Lee said if she was one of the top 17, she would just protect her car the first 2 segments. So she would even compete. She'd be more one of those, probably hang out in the back and try to protect her car. But 2, I'm curious what happens if that does happen. Is there already a game plan in play? Okay, if one of your, say 2 of your 17 cars wreck and can't compete, is there already a game plan? Do we now go to the 10 next drivers, or how's that?
I haven't seen questions raise up yet. I'm kind of waiting for somebody to ask that certain question that Packers can kind of answer to. Maybe those questions will kind of come up more as we get closer, but that would be my.
You're muted.
I don't know how that's going to work, but one thing to note is that yes, those 17 guarantee could save back, but depending on how good or bad your car is that day, the 26 car field for the last 200 laps is the lineup for that is set by your score from the first 275 lappers. So if you're a guaranteed starter, that's kind of like, I want to sit back, but at the same time, I want the best position possible because Dover's a hit or miss. You either race well or the racing sucks terribly. Right. So I don't know what kind of track we're going to get. I don't know what the racing's going to be like. It's one of those hard
Yeah, I miss the days of Michael Waltrip coming in as an open driver, winning the Open, and then turning around and winning the Winston, the All-Star race. That's just not going to happen. I don't see it. Once again, we're catering to the top, and instead of this being like a 15-car field or something like that actually gives somebody a chance to run up front, we're just saying, okay, it's a big open field, and after 150 laps, we're going to cut y'all out, and we're only going to race the top 26. But you can't tell me if Kyle Larson blows up motor in the first 3 laps of the event, are we going to be able to supplement that driver that is locked in with a driver from the open field? So that's another question. Do we automatically start 26 in the field, which would make that we would lock in 10 if one of those drivers happens to get hurt or break or something to that effect, get into
the one
an
thing
accident?
I want to mention on is, like, why are we going 26 cars? Because, like, that's
Right.
that's like 3/4 of the field already. Like, we can take our 17. Why not have, what is it, the remaining 25-ish cars? I'm not really doing math. I'm kind of throwing out numbers at this point. We're taking like 25-ish cars. Why don't we do, they can do your twin 75s. Winner of the first 75, okay. Your car number 18. Winner of the second 75, okay, your car number 19. Fan vote, car number 20. Boom, done. I just solved your problem. We're going home, boys. See you later.
Yeah, look, and look, let's put some money on it, right? Let's give an open driver a chance to lock himself into the Daytona 500, the 2027 Daytona 500, right? By making his way into this race. Because what that would do, what I want to see is I want to see a bunch of open cars show up for the All-Star event to make it a 45, 46 car field. Hey, you say we're going to start all the cars. Well, why are we not allowing open cars to come in and maybe, give that opportunity to build a big field?
No, well, you have to think. I don't know what open cars are going in because you have to remember 36 charter.
I don't think any are.
There's 36 charter.
Right.
And, I mean, the qualification did say past champions full-time. They never said drivers who are past champions, part-time and want to do one-offs can run that first 150 laps. So
right.
I'm just saying keep your eyes open. I'm not saying that Tony Stewart would jump in because Tony has pretty much said the truck race was pretty much his last hurrah. But, of course, he always says, well, never say never. But we all know Tony. Tony the Tiger, that was your last hurrah. Stop playing mind games with us. But there's also guys like maybe a Jimmy Johnson. If Casey Mears wants to pull off a lucky Daytona kind of freaking finish, he can throw his hat into the mix, and we can see Kmart back into the All-Star race.
This kind of feels like, hey, guys, we couldn't get y'all lights at Dover, so we're just going to do this kind of crazy here makeup thing. And I just don't like it. I would have much rather seen Dover under the lights in an original format. And don't tell me you can't do it because we put lights at Bristol before there was even the lights that they have there now. It was temporary lighting. It could have happened. We could have done it. It's not like it's Talladega. We're talking about Dover Downs. It could have happened, but instead we got some bogus way of saying, oh, this is an all-star event, but it really just feels like a points-paying event. It kind of feels like the similar days back at North Wilkesboro where they couldn't start an entire field of cars. So that's that on the All-Star. We'll keep you guys updated. We've got to run through here because we've got a long way to go in a short time to get there, but most of these other subjects are pretty easy to cover. We do want to make sure that we got time for Taz's weekly NASCAR team ranking. So here's the standout shout-outs and shout-downs. I think
we covered that part.
Well, on the list,
minus Keelan.
Right. So, but basically, you're going to category one of these guys. Each of y'all are going to category one of these guys in either standout, shout out, or shout down. On the list today is Hocevar, Sheldon Creed, and Keelan Harvick, who has now signed a Toyota development driver contract with Toyota. I will I'll start this off, kind of give you the feel of how it's supposed to go.
Oh my gosh, Keelan Harvick, the Toyota, the world is going nuts.
At 13 years old, I'm going to give a shout down. Just a little bit too young to be signing developmental drivers at this stage. Braxton Bush is just as talented of a driver He hasn't gotten the opportunity yet. I think that somewhere or another 16 to 17 years old should be the age. 13 is entirely too young. I know Chase Elliott got signed at 15, but it just feels like it's a little bit too early for that kind of pressure to put on a kid. Hocevar, I'm going to give him a shout out because, buddy, he really he's coming to his own. He's becoming a fan favorite amongst the youngsters. So I like the direction that he's going, and I'm going to give a standout to Sheldon Creed for finally picking up that win this weekend at Atlanta and hopefully sealing his future there in the Xfinity in the O'Reilly Series. You may not ever see him in Cup, but I feel like he definitely has a place between the Truck Series and the O'Reilly Series. Now I'm going to hand it to you, Taz, and let you give your thoughts on those three and where you would place them at, and then we'll go to CJ Sports.
Standout, definitely Sheldon Creed. I mean, first win after, now that I got corrected, 15 second place finishes, not 17 or 18 that I mentioned. He now knows the taste of being a bride instead of being the bridesmaid. So that goes there. Shout out to Hocevar. I mean, other than, dude, you need to cool down some of your aggression. You still got a career to go. You've got a promising career ahead of you. I give him props for making moves that nobody would ever really do in trying to get your shoot. Like I said earlier, multiple laps down at one point early in the race, and he found his way back to the lead lap, and at the end of it, he was competing for the win. In terms of Keelan, that's kind of a shout down. I don't understand. Like you said, 13 years old, getting signed to Toyota or whatever, like, you should be like 15, 16 years old. I understand Keelan's running a Cars West schedule, but I kind of feel like you shouldn't have manufacturer ties until a certain age, in my opinion.
I agree both of y'all with the whole stand down or shouts downs. I'm 100% on both your guys' opinion. I don't think it could be said any better. Shout outs. I'm going to do Hocevar. I'm going to shout out the fact that he's making racing exciting right now. Like what he's doing, dislike what he's doing. It's exciting to watch. Like I said, he starts taking out the field. Well, I might start feeling a different way about it, but it has us on the edge of the feet, on our feet. It has some glimpse of different drivers. We remember seeing that when they were young, and they went on to have great careers. When we was talking about them earlier, I was sitting there thinking of the days of watching Terry Labonte at Bristol and Rusty Walls and some of the moves he made. Like, they were aggressive. Everybody just got to basically just find the rhythm and tune it down to a point that it goes from being aggressive and exciting to being reckless. Like, you just got to find that fine line. Like I said, Kyle Busch was the same way. He found a way to get that fine line, and he went on to have the career he's had. So, and then stand out Sheldon Creed, seeing him finally get into victory lane, having him on the show way back in the early days, and just have had an opportunity to watch him develop throughout the series. It was great to see that, and that's my standout. You're muted, Chris. You guys are both muted.
We're going to run through that. We're just going to run through that there at the end, Taz, with what's coming up next. Let's do the poll question. This week's poll question. Let's see if we can get that image thrown up there. Of course, this is something that we've already talked about at the beginning of the show. It's going to be added to the Race Chat Live Facebook page. We might not get a graphics this time. We'll work on that. The poll question for this week, and we've been pretty successful with our poll questions so far. This has been a pretty popular thing for our Race Chat Live Facebook page. Make sure that you guys have liked and shared and commented. We want to hear from you guys. This poll question is very simple. Do you believe that Michael Jordan is the superstar that NASCAR has been looking for? We'll have that poll question up on the Race Chat Live Facebook page here in just a little bit, but I also want to tell you about the opportunities that you have. We want to advertise your product right here on Race Chat Live. We feel very confident that we can help you in your product sales, and we can give you a little bit of time here each time that we're on the radio to talk about your product. All you have to do is send us that kind of information. We'll even display the product if need be. And it would be a great opportunity for you guys to come on along and help us grow this show and giving us a little bit of an extra something to talk about and a product to tell the world about. We are definitely in position now to where I think that we can help in that area. And if you're looking for the right guys to push your product and to get your name out there, then maybe you try us here at Race Chat Live. You can get a hold of us at the 110 Nation Sports Facebook page, the Race Chat Live Facebook page, or you can contact Fan for Racing at fanforracing.com through the email address. So that's that, and we'll move right on along into what I believe will be the long run, which is where we will talk about just briefly what's coming up next. This coming up week, of course, we're going to St. Petersburg for a street course for the Truck Series. They are there with the IndyCar, so this is kind of like a joint effort between IndyCar and NASCAR, which is a really cool deal to see. And we're at the COTA at Austin, Texas. There's the cold. Yeah, just a little bit late, but it's okay. We'll get it better next time. So we're racing at COTA this weekend, Austin, Texas. Those races will be on Fox, believe it or not, on Fox. So it is going to be on network television. Any thoughts real quick as we go into COTA? I do believe I have some past winners here that I can pull up real quick. Taz Taylor, you want to say anything on that before I tell you about the past winners?
Obviously, with COTA, do we know for a fact if they're running the full course or are they running the short course like they did last year?
That's a good question. I should have had that answer, that ready to answer. I'm not very sure. Chase Elliott, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick, William Byron, and Christopher Bell all had victories. I remember Chase
Elliott was the rain shortened race because
and that was the very first race.
You couldn't see freaking 20 feet in front of you. Poor Martin Truex Jr. going flying through. Whee! See you later. The tire barrier.
I kind of feel like we're pumping the brakes here with coming off of Daytona and then Atlanta. This kind of feels like a slowdown. I'm not very big on COTA, and I'm not very big on road course racing.
I could see that as we kind of start working into our rankings here. I kind of feel like this could be another. We get to the rankings here shortly, but as we get ready for that, I feel like this could be another week where we could see a lot of moves in the ranks for the teams. I know some drivers have the act for road course racing, some don't.
Right.
So it's just a matter of what can we do. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, Mr. CJ Sports, any comments about the upcoming race at COTA and St. Petersburg? It's really cool to be going to St. Petersburg. I'm really excited about that. I'm not much on road course racing. I do like the street style racing, though, a little bit better than the road course racing. I'm a much bigger fan of street course than I am road course. How about you, Mr. CJ Sports?
I'm not a fan of either one, so I'm gonna watch it. So we'll be here next Wednesday to talk about it. But I'm not a big road course fan, so that makes me no mind. It's I don't know. Every road course is the same. They count backwards. They pit strategize that way, and it's just spread out. I'm believe it or not. I think I've probably said this before. I am the Talladega, Daytona, 3-wide drafting kind of fan. Like, I like that. That to me, just see them run 180, 190 miles an hour, inches apart, 3 lanes wide. Is that just an adrenaline rush to me? And so all the rest of it is just kind of lesser and slower to me. So, and I have different opinions and different ones. I think we went through a period where some of these tracks were the same and boring, and road courses, they're the same, and as long as you like that style, and the gas mileage, the pit strategy, you'll like it. But I it's just too spread out, not enough for me.
Right. All right, guys. We've got up next. It's going to be Taz Taylor's. Come on, where's that graphic at? What's it called, Taz? I'm gonna send it to you, buddy. All right, here we go. Taz Taylor. This is your time to shine. This is your weekly review of where the teams stand, and this is a team effort, not a single car effort. So we'll make sure that you guys know that. And start wherever you want to, Taz, and we'll chime in here as we've got about 15 more minutes before we have to check out of the air.
All right. When I said a lot of moves a couple minutes ago for this week's rankings, there were a lot. Every team but one moved either up or down somewhere in these rankings. And we're going to start with our basement 5, our bottom 5 teams. As you see there, we're going to go with number 15, Haas Factory team. Last week they were ranked 13th. They moved down to this week. Number 14, we got RCR. Again, just like Haas Factory, they moved down from number 12 last week. Rick Ware Racing at number 13. They went down 3 spots from the 10th spot. The only team moving up out of the basement 5 is Joe Gibbs Racing. They went from the bottom of the barrel in the basement at number 15. They are now number 12. And number 11, we got Wood Brothers. They went down 6 spots from number 5 last week. Before we get to the next 5,
yeah, let's comment on these first 5.
What are your guys' thoughts, surprises of the basement 5, starting with you, Mr. CJ Sports?
Other than I don't know if I'd have Joe Gibbs Racing down in the basement 5. I'd probably have more of the 6 through 10, especially with Briscoe second. And I think Ty Gibbs is really your weakest link over there right now. I agree with all the rest of it. None of this really surprises me. Maybe RCR being a rowdy friend, there you go, a rowdy fan, and Austin Dillon not usually being the worst of the worst. Just doesn't seem like those two are having any luck and just really getting caught up in a lot of stuff. I'm not disagreeing with it being there. I'm just kind of surprised they're down there. I would have expected them to be higher, but I agree with 4 out of the 5 in the basement 5.
All right, with Haas Factory team, somebody has to be last, and right now the rebrand isn't showing up on the scorecard. Great, prove us wrong candidate going into week 3. We'll see how they do at COTA. RCR, quietly one of the more disappointing names on the board. You expect more presence for them at a place like Atlanta. Instead, they're drifting toward the forgettable zone. Rick Ware, down 3. Falling back to earth a bit. Week 1 pop was fun, but week 2 reminded everyone how hard it is to consistently outrun the budget. Still, them not being 15 is progress. Gibbs, this feels like the first step in probably an inevitable climb. Too much money, too much debt for them to hang at the bottom, but they're just not out of the doghouse quite yet. Over at the Wood Brothers, I think they're rough tumble, and it hurts because the name is so big. This is where you ask, was Daytona's fool's gold, or did Atlanta just not line up with their strengths? I think they're going to be hot in certain places and not in other places. So they kind of feel like the 4th Penske team in where they're sitting right now. So I believe that is the first 11. Taz, how about the next group?
All right, next group. We have the climbing 5, which is ranking 6 through 10 here. At number 10, we got Legacy Motor Club moving up 1 spot from number 11 last week. At number 9, we got Hayek Motorsports, who was number 1 on the charts last week. They moved down 8 spots. The only team to move down in this group of 5. Then at number 8, we have Trackhouse Racing moving up 6 spots from number 14. At number 7, we got Colleague Racing moving up 2 spots from number 9. And then Front Row Motorsports sitting at number 6, moving up 2 spots from number 8. We'll start with you, Chris.
Well, let's go to Legacy Motor Club. Small climb, but symbolically it's big. Them sitting solidly mid-pack instead of bottom three says the retooling is at least trending in the right direction. Over at Hayek, I think that was a great start to the season, but we kind of knew where Hayek is and what they are. This is a full market correction. Week 1, they were the darlings. Week 2 exposed some cracks. And Ricky had a good run there. I think he got wrecked. Perfect talking point. Did we overreact earlier? Or is this just Atlanta being Atlanta? I think it's more of the, what we've got there with racing. Some people are, put in position. Other people are wrecked out of it. So I kind of see them kind of evening out somewhere in mid-pack. Trackhouse, keep your eye on Hike. They're liable to do some big things that, week in, week out, we'll just have to follow them. Trackhouse, massive jump and it fits. Look at the quality race SVG had. He was caught up in like 3 incidents and still bounced back. I think he had a top 10 finish. Massive jump and it fits.
Finish to date.
Yeah, it fits, man. Atlanta clearly looked more like Trackhouse we expected in the preseason. Aggressive, racy, and relevant to the front instead of stuck in the mushy middle. Colleague, I'm going to keep my eye on Colleague. I'm not sure. I'm not sold yet. Ty Dillon, I've never been sold on. AJ Allmendinger, there's going to be tracks where he's going to be really good at. I just don't see the competitive side. They're not getting any Chevrolet notes, so Colleague could find themselves near the bottom as the season progresses. We'll have to really keep our eye on them. But Colleague creeping into the top 7 feels like the garage quietly going, yeah, this is real. If they keep stringing it together, competent, mistake-free weeks, that they're going to live in this range. If not, we're going to see them fall to the bottom really quick. Front row went through a horrible offseason, caught up in the lawsuit, but in the end, they won. It feels like the victory for the whole year. I know Michael McDowell sits on that Daytona 500 trophy there in the garage of Front Row Motorsports, but winning in that lawsuit has got to be the biggest victory ever at Front Row Motorsports. Front Row staying this high after week 2 is a statement. They're no longer just Daytona Talladega merchants. They're hanging around the big boys on intermediate style stuff too. So we definitely see a growth. Zane Smith, man, I'm telling you, Zane Smith reminds me of a talented driver like Eric Jones, who, given the right opportunity, could really be a shiner in this sport. Taz Taylor, let's go to the next group. Oh, is it?
No, Mr. CJ.
It's Mr. CJ Sports. I'm sorry.
I like everything that I've seen on there. This is where I talked about the basement 5. I would have had Joe Gibbs racing up. I probably would have had him in the 9th spot and Hayek down in their spot. Outside of that, I like everything that I've seen ranking wise and informational wise with Chris. So I'm liking everything else.
All right, we go to our top 5. I think I have to find something creative. Maybe the winning 5, but I don't want to say winning just yet when we're only 2 weeks into the season.
The big dog era. This is the big dog era.
But our top 5,
Big 5.
we got Hendrick Motorsports sitting at number 5, moving up 2 spots from number 7. At number 4, we got Team Penske up 2 spots from number 6. And our one and only team that did not move up nor down is RFK Racing. They stay at number 3 this week. Number 2 on the charts is Spire Motorsports, moving up 2 spots from previously ranked number 4. And then our new number 1 team, we're 2 for 2 on number 1s this year, is 2311 Racing, moving up 1 spot, going from the bridesmaid. They're now the bride after 2 weeks. So thoughts, opinions, Mr. CJ, we'll start with you before we get down to Chris.
The only thing that sticks out to me, I'd probably like to see 3 and 4 switched. I think I like Penske a little bit stronger in the pulling than I do RFK. But outside of that, I like everything in there. So go ahead, Chris. Got what you got.
Yeah, so, I mean, you just look at that and you see Spire at number 2 and you just have to kind of rub your head like what's really going on here. Spire's going to wind up being somewhere in the mid there, but it's good to see for right now the top 2 guys where they are. That's a statement being said, but let's start at Hendrick. This is an inevitable move. You can only keep Hendrick down for so long. If Atlanta Speed matched the name on the door, this bump is absolutely earned being up 2. Penske, classic Penske, right? Maybe not the loudest story, but they're methodically climbing. Atlanta feels like a correction back toward where you would normally expect them in the pecking order. RFK, we were the first to point out several years ago that RFK was moving in the right direction. We said it was a 2-car team and that gave them a competitive advantage. Well, here we are with 3 cars, and Brad Keselowski with a terrible incident and a broke leg, and he's basically been the captain of RFK in the last couple of weeks. Go ahead, Taz.
If you remember, Chris, when we were talking about that a couple of years ago, right, how we were talking about RFK Racing being a 2-car team, and we also remember we thought for the longest time they were going to stay that way because of charters being sold and bought, right?
Right.
Remember back when the All-Star race that Joey Logano led every single lap of? We got much more to come later on, and if you remember that episode.
I love that episode.
But we remember Brad Keselowski in the pre-race interview of the All-Star race that year. They were not interested in getting a 3rd car, and right, boom, here we are. They have a 3rd car, and it's just as competitive as the other 2.
And I'll be honest with you, they're going to be in trouble because there's not enough charters to go around. Somebody's going to lose a team next year, and I'm just not sure who it's going to be. There's just not enough charters, and I believe that next year Legacy Motor Club will actually have the charter that the 60 machine of Ryan Preece is racing with this year. That's going to put RFK in a really tough position on getting and finding that 3rd charter. They are probably worth more now than ever before. So let's talk about.
I think Rick Ware's on the cusp of that because I think you have to finish so high in the owner's standings in like a 5-year span or something like that.
Well, supposedly
unless that got changed in the newest charter agreement.
Right. Supposedly Rick Ware sold out to former owners of Spire, but I don't know how all that went about. We'll have to check up on that. Holding at 3 actually feels right for RFK. Nothing in Atlanta screamed panic, but also it didn't scream new number 1. They're still firmly in that every week threat group. We'll have to keep our eye on what Brad Keselowski does this weekend. I know he's got Joey Hand on hand to hopefully step in the car if need be. And let me tell you something, Joey Hand knows how to get around on road courses. Spire up to, wow, look at here. Is all this money that's being dumped into this organization finally paying off? Well, for this week, they're there. There's no longer a cute underdog story. Back-to-back weeks in the conversation means Spire's floor has come way up. They're racing like a legit playoff caliber operation, not a spoiler. And at number 1 is 2311. Yes, Air Jordan. Atlanta just cemented them as the current standard. Week 1 was they arrived. Week 2 is they're staying with speed, execution, organizational depth, all looking elite.
And there you have it for our Week 2 NASCAR Team Rankings as our new weekly segment that we will start ending our shows with to kind of get you to see where teams sit after one race weekend heading into the next.
With 2 minutes to spare.
And obviously, and like I said before, with now having a true super speedway, a wannabe super speedway, and now we're going to have a road course. These rankings can change over next week just as much as it did this past week. So don't be surprised if that happens.
All right, Taz Taylor, man, we have come up to the time limit. First of all, I want to tell you guys, you can find me on Twitter and TikTok at Flag of Caution. You can find me on Facebook at Chris Yellow Caution Flag Creighton. You can also find me at Chris Yellow Caution Flag Creighton on YouTube. You can follow us at Flag of Caution on Instagram. We are everywhere, and we are wanting to get our name out there as much as we can. So follow us. Of course, you can find me in 2 weeks at the dirt track. We're going to start the season back up out at the House of Hook, Why Not Motorsports Park, for the, I think, the 13th or 14th annual Battle of the States. I think it's the 14th annual. Wow, that just says how long I've been doing this. Cool beans to give away the championship belt. Hope that you're there. Be there, as old Rodney Wing would tell us. Taz Taylor, where can we find you?
You can find me on Facebook, TNT Designs,
40 seconds.
110 Nation Sports, and Race Chat Live pages. I'll be popping in time and time again with those.
On Twitter, you can find me either at 110 Nation or at Mr. CJ Sports.
All right, guys, 20 seconds. Taz Taylor, send us off, man. We're going
All
to
right,
the
this
moon.
has been Race Chat Live with Mr. I'm going to get this right. CJ Sports of the 110 Nation, Chris Creighton, Yellow Caution Flag of Racing Radio. I'm the Tasmanian Devil Flaggers, Taz Taylor, saying good night. We'll see you same bat time, same bat place next Wednesday. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us.